Craig, welcome. Hare Krishna. All right, so the defects of modern civilization. But before we begin, we should chant the Mangalacharana prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Snapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Slavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Ischa Shri Rupam Sargajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sanjeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Kanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishak Anvitam Saja He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakan Janamostute Tata Kanchana Gaurami Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Yo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Ti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachaline Nirvishesha Shrinivari Vashyate Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, maybe move that closer because I don't have to speak super loud, and I don't really want to do that. Welcome, Craig. So today's subject matter is going to continue on with the defects of modern civilization. Prabhupada is talking about the administration of Yudhishthira Maharaj and how vastly different Yudhishthira Maharaj's administrating capabilities are compared to our modern administrative capabilities, especially even in the so-called greatest country in the world, the United States of America, even though that status has likely been hijacked and usurped, and I don't know if it holds that anymore, but at least we like to think so, the American people. So anyhow, so you're going to see, we ended last time talking about, well, this sentence is nice. Human civilization should depend on the production of material nature without artificially attempting economic development to turn the world into a chaos of artificial greed and power, only for the purpose of artificial luxuries and sense gratification. He says, this is but the life of dogs and hogs. So this is, we're turning it into some luxury, animalistic life, you know, and this is what's attracting people, actually. But as we know, you know, all forms of sense gratification are found in the animal species. Actually, the animals sense gratify better than we can. You know, we might like to enjoy the sense of smell, but the sense of smell of a dog or a pig is so far superior to us. We might like to enjoy the sense of taste. The pig's sense of taste is so refined that it can take stool, and it could develop all kinds of good taste in even stool. What's to speak of anything else? Sex life. You know, we're looking for all kinds of elaborate ways to have sex life. You know, birds have the capacity to do it hundreds of times a day. So if you want to exploit a sense of the body, an animal can do it way better than you. Animals can do it way better. Might as well take birth in an animal body if you're attracted to these things. That's why Prabhupada says, you know, our artificial civilization, which is trying to magnify sense gratification, is like the lives of dogs and hogs. And ultimately, that's the great danger, that if we live like dogs and hogs, we'll become dogs and hogs, and we'll lose the very, very opportune form of life, which is what? Piyush? What's that? Yes. So, in order to do self-realization, what kind of body do you need? You need a human body. That's something the animals can't do. The humans have a refined intellect. They can use. That's the only thing that distinguishes us from the animals. We have a refined intellect, and we can inquire into the absolute truth. We can try and solve the deeper mysteries of life. The pigs cannot do it. The eagles cannot do it. It doesn't matter. They specialize in something else. They have all kinds of refined senses. Do you ever watch like a monkey? How it has such strong limbs to just swing and do and throw itself up like this and jump on your back and steal your hat and your glasses and make you barter for fruity. You know this, in India you have to give the monkeys fruity to get your... In Vrindavan, this is the currency for monkeys. You have to pay them in fruity to get your glasses or your hat back or whatever they've stolen. But it's amazing what they can do. But they cannot do self-realization. You cannot have a philosophical discourse with a monkey or a cow or a pig or a horse. That's not their specialties at all. But this is our specialty, so we should live like this. But for whatever reason, we get distracted and we get envious of the animals and say, no, I want to be an animal. There's songs. This is a very, very grotesque song, but I remember it just came to my mind. There was a popular song when I was a kid. He sang, "You and me, baby, we're nothing but mammals." He's singing to some girl, and he's saying, "Let's do it like we do on the Discovery Channel." And he's talking about how animals mate on the Discovery Channel. But this was You never heard this song? It was so popular. Against young boys, it was very, very popular. But it's such nonsense. But this is actually the type of society we live in, unfortunately. Very grotesque society, focused on very base things. But anyhow, I'm a product of that society, and somehow or other Krishna has wanted to do this with my life, so I'm his puppet. Anyhow, text 5. Nadya Samudra Girayaha. Samudra Girayaha. We have a TV, we should have it set up for tomorrow, but not today. Savanaspati Virudaha. Almost. Falantyo Shadaya Sarva. Kamamanu Kamamanvritu Tasya Vai. Nadya, rivers, Samudra, oceans, Girayaha, hills and mountains, Savanaspati, vegetables, Virudha, creepers, Phalanti, active, Oshadhaya, drugs. He's meaning like herbs. But Sarva, all, Kamam, necessities, Anvirtu, seasonal, Tasya, for the king, Vai, certainly. Yes. So drugs that's what always drugs were. They were like concentrated herbs. That was always medicine for thousands of years. It wasn't until maybe 100 or something years ago, the Rockefeller family, they figured out, we can make synthetic and chemicals and drugs. And actually it has awful results. It's destroying society actually in so many ways. It's addictive. It's causes so many chemical imbalances that cause other things that you need another drug to try and then next thing you know, you're on like 50 different drugs. It is a disaster. But anyway, that's what drugs always were. They were herbs. And anyway, so I like that they use the word drugs to describe Oshadhaya. So translation. The rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. So even when there's pious rulership, this is mentioned here, that even the earth and the land, everyone is giving some tax. Now, we're not saying Prabhupada and the Bhagavatam, it's not actually saying taxes are bad. You know, some people in woke circles like to think, all tax is bad. No, there should be a certain level of tax. But at the same time, You have to go? Okay, fine. No problem. I'm missing you. Thank you for your service. Hare Krishna. So, so taxes are not bad, actually. But there's a proper way. There's a scriptural way to enforce taxes. And that he'll likely get into that. If not, it's a flat 25%. And that's what you give back so that you can ensure your protection. And actually, the king and the administrators, how they use tax monies, there's a scriptural, dharmic way to do that. You don't just take in, I think I'll use it on this, and I think I'll use it on this, and my sense gratification here. No, it's to give back and protect the citizens and to protect the entire earth. So this is how Daiva Varnashram worked. So anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit. Since Maharaj Yudhishthira was under the protection of the Ajita, or the infallible Lord, as above mentioned, the properties of the Lord, namely the rivers, oceans, hills, forests, etc., were all pleased, and they used to supply their respective quota of taxes to the king. The secret to success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Without his sanction, nothing can be possible. To make economic development by our own endeavors on the strength of tools and machinery is not all. The sanction of the Supreme Lord must be there. Otherwise, despite all instrumental arrangements, everything will be unsuccessful. The ultimate cause of success is the Daiva, the Supreme. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira knew perfectly well that the king is the agent of the Supreme Lord to look after the welfare of the mass of people. This just kind of came to my mind. Piyush, you were talking the other day about, it was a good opportunity. You took the interview, but then at the end of the day, just the visa situation, it didn't work out. And we had a conversation, like, I don't know what to do, whether I should chant more or I should work harder, and all these things. And actually, this kind of answers that. That the secret to success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord. No matter what's going on in your life, if you sincerely take refuge, and you can do your duty taking refuge of the Supreme Lord, and because that is an element. It's not like you just stop all work and you just sit by yourself and chant from now on. That's not the process. But there's a certain protocol that one can do to reach success. Prabhupada, he gives a protocol. What protocol does Prabhupada give? He gave us a much lesser protocol than was traditionally given. What do you think, Parth?
Does that just get you in here, Parth?
What protocol did Prabhupada give?
For what?
What's that?
Regulative principles in 16 rounds.
Yeah, the baseline, 4 regulative principles in 16 rounds. This is the protocol to reach success in any aspect of life. Now, Prabhupada, he designed a whole temple program. Mangal Arati in the morning, chanting of japa, offering worship to the Guru daily, and so on. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam regularly. This is all scriptural protocol on how you can achieve success. So actually, this is why we have our program like this, because we want to be successful. We're finding success doing like this. Personally, my wife and I, at the very least, we're finding more success than we've ever found before doing just like this. So if you also take a step of surrender and trust, you'd have to have a certain level of faith. But hopefully by now, in your Krishna consciousness development, you'd realize, the more I give in my worship, the more everything else is taken care of. It's said that Krishna, he can take with 10 hands and you can only try and hold on with 2. But at the same time, he can give with 10 hands and you can only take with 2. And you're, oh my God, where is this coming from? So you can try and take everything you want from the material world. I'll work like this and I'll get this result, and I'll work like this. You only have 2 hands. But little you don't see, Krishna's got 10 hands and he might snatch it while you're not looking. Then there's a 10th hand coming from behind and it's snatching that right out of your grip. But at the same time, if you take refuge in him, under the Supreme Lord and his representative, then it starts coming with 10 hands, and I only have 2. I can't hold this. And oh my God, this is now coming too. It's like this. I promise you, it's like this. My own life is a personal testimony, and I mean, everything that's needed and more just keeps coming. Needed, not wanted, needed. Wanted is another thing. Krishna doesn't even have enough to give me everything that I want, because the greed is unlimited. But actually, he is also unlimited. It's probably incorrect. He could give me everything I want. He does actually give me everything I want. But only when I...
just not the way we want it.
Yeah, just not the way we want it, or, I was talking about Meghna's little brother. He said something very cute to me, that he had a plan to be the richest person in the whole world. And but actually, his mentality is not so, uncommon. I also had this desire. I also, these are things that we want. Oh, I wish I was the most of this and that and the other thing.
Well, actually, Michael was planning it, through video games, so he was good.
Be the best in the world.
Be very wealthy.
Yes.
YouTuber.
Yes. This is the conditioned living entity, to try to be God. But ultimately, when we take refuge in God, this is the answer. So, if you had to choose between chanting and working harder in your profession, or it's performing spiritual process or working harder in your profession, what do you think is the...
Both, no?
Yes, both. But what do you think is the ultimate key to success?
Like keeping Krishna in your mind whenever you're doing anything.
No, even before that, it's taking refuge in the Lord, finding out what He wants, surrender to that process, and then do it. And then add in all the things you need to add in, no problem. You'll do your duties, no problem. Don't worry. There'll be plenty of time to do your maintenance and your survival. And you'll see it, I promise you. But, sometimes we get there's a lot of high pressure situations. And, like for you guys, you do have a definite amount of work that you have to complete daily. It's just the situation. And there's no way around it, actually. But do your best to first go to the Lord. First go to the Lord, and then after that, whatever you can do, He will cover. He covers what you lack. That's you've heard that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, how the Lord, He covers what you lack. You lack so many things. I lack so many things. There's so many things we lack, we miss. He will cover that. Somehow or other, you'll get like a mercy just come out of nowhere to cover that thing that you're lacking so badly in. So I promise you this. But what's that?
Prabhupada Swami was saying when he was here that he was like in university when he found the devotees, but they were like, chant 60 rounds, and he was like, I can't do that, I have no time, blah, blah. And he said he started chanting, and then from the chanting, his mind was sharper, and then he was able to complete his work in like half the time, and then he had time for chanting, and then he had time for reading, and it just like...
Yeah.
just happened.
And also his sleep decreased like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, it's perfect. That's my 16 rounds right there. And then everything else started getting better. And it's like that. But we have to be sincere, It's not that like just a repetition thing. Like I just mumbled for my 2 hours of mumbling today. Like, no, it's an actual meditation. It's an actual calling, So, Hare Krishna Part. We'll see you soon. So this is our process.
Hare Krishna.
So let's keep reading though.
Craig and Michael are also doing it.
Craig and Michael, Hare Krishna. I look forward. We only have so much longer of this arrangement, and then we'll have the full.
Yeah, then I won't have to come.
No, I know you're coming.
Yeah, I was looking at
So, but thank you. All right. So the ultimate cause of success is the Daiva, the Supreme. So the kings knew perfectly well the king is the agent of the Supreme Lord to look after the welfare of the mass of people. This is how to actually rule, to look after the welfare of the mass of people. Nowadays it's just to look how they can steal from the mass of people. Really, it's like that. Actually, the state belongs to the Supreme Lord. The rivers, oceans, forests, hills, drugs, etc. are not creations of man. Even though the so-called medicines of drugs of today are definitely creations of man, and that's why they have thousands of adverse effects, and it's horrible actually. So anyway, they are all creations of the Supreme Lord, and the living being is allowed to make use of the property of the Lord for the service of the Lord. That's why we're given this body, that's why we're given the elements to work with, that's why we're giving everything of this world. What is it for? Tanmay?
Service of the Lord.
It's for the service of the Lord. That's all anything is for. Anything else used any other way is actually stealing. Stealing from the Lord and misusing His property. And then naturally there's a retribution to that. We cannot steal and use things how we want to use them. We have to use them in service for the Lord. Today's slogan is that everything is for the people. For the people and by the people. He's always poking fun at the U.S. politics, or even just like the worldly thoughts. It's fun. And therefore the government is for the people and by the people. But to produce a new species of humanity at the present moment on the basis of God consciousness and perfection of human life, the ideology of godly communism, the world has to again follow in the footsteps of kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir or Parikshit. This is basically the current species of humanity this is a failed arrangement here. And you see this, just look at the fights, and it's just a disaster at every level. There is enough of everything by the will of the Lord, and we can make proper use of things to live comfortably without enmity, meaning without any enemies between man or animal and man or nature. The control of the Lord is everywhere, and if the Lord is pleased, every part of nature will be pleased. The river will flow profusely to fertilize the land. The oceans will supply sufficient quantities of minerals, pearls and jewels. The forests will supply sufficient wood, drugs, and vegetables. And the seasonal changes will effectively help produce fruits and flowers in profuse quantity. The artificial way of living depending on factories and tools can render so-called happiness only to a limited number at the cost of millions. Since the energy of the mass of people is engaged in factory production, the natural products are being hampered, and for this the mass is unhappy. You just see this. Look at all the homeless people in cities. Cities are designed what? Cities are designed to bring about all these industrial creations of men, and what do? They throw away all the natural stuff. All the trees, all the rivers become polluted, everything becomes trash. You go to the cities, that's where the people are starving. But you go look at the Amish people. They don't live in the cities, or the Mennonites, or these people, or even, Vedic civilized people who are not interested in such a barbaric way of life. They don't hear about, oh man, the Amish, they're going hungry. You'd think the way that industrialism is promoted as this is the solution for mankind, you'd think the people like the Amish would go hungry. No, they have profuse abundance. No money. They don't need much of those things, but they have everything. They work together. They have all of God's natural arrangements, and they live very nice. They've got like 10 kids each and things like that. You can't have 10 kids living anywhere in this world. The Muslims can do it actually, but they have a similar thing. They live by their laws of God, and it gives them success. They can have 10 kids. If I tried to have 10 kids in this type of city dynamic, it'd be impossible. It would be impossible. Elon Musk can have 14 kids, but he has to be so incredibly rich to have that many kids. But the Amish, they can do like that, no problem, because they live a more natural way of life. So anyhow, where did we stop? Without being educated properly, since the energy of the mass of people is engaged in factory production, the natural products are being hampered, and for this the mass is unhappy. So people are feeling the scarcity, especially in this country. The reason the new regime got elected is because people were feeling the scarcity created by past regimes. And the lack of economy and stability, and their needs aren't being met, or their desires. So without being educated properly, the mass of people are following in the footsteps of the vested interests by exploiting natural reserves. And therefore there is acute or very severe competition between individual and nation and nation. Have a nice day, Michael. Hare Krishna. There is no control by the trained agent of the Lord. We must look into the defects of modern civilization by comparison here, and should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhishthira to cleanse man and wipe out anachronisms. What is an anachronism? Do you know, any of you? I haven't even heard of that word. Anachronism. A thing belonging or appropriate to a period other than that which it exists. Especially a thing that is conspicuously old-fashioned. So Prabhupada is saying that this way of life, this should be, this is an experiment, and this should be lost in tradition. This industrial thing that we've created, it can't last. Actually, you see this, the debt, even the money system, how it works. It's impossible to pay back the debt. I'll give you an example how it's impossible. Let's just say I have, this is the wealth. There's 5 keys of wealth in the world. And I say, Tanmay, I'll keep 1 key, and I'm going to give you 4 keys. But I want you to pay me back the keys in interest. I want 5 keys back. How are you going to take 5 keys, and then somehow by that system 6 keys come back? Where'd the other key come from? It's not there. It's an illusion. That's what the debt is. They're lending out money, and then on interest saying, oh, we want the money back. It doesn't exist. That's when they keep printing more money, and charging more interest, and the debt just keeps increasing. Pretty much what they're doing is they're tricking everyone to give the money back to them. But it's fictitious wealth. Actually, this is what inspired me years ago to buy silver, because I learned, it was, oh my God, Prabhupada, he talks about this paper money system, and what a farce it is. You can't create wealth. It's either the wealth is there or not, but they've created an illusory system where people, they're doing just that. They think that the wealth is being created, but actually what's just happening is everything's becoming devalued. And the people who are lending, they just get richer and richer. Anyway, it's a cheating system. But people were so hungry for chasing this wealth, and I mean, even on this mortgage we just took, we're dealing with interest rates and all these things. But this fundamental interest, even the creation of the thing, it's a cheating system. There's only so much wealth exists, and then if you loan it all out and charge it back on interest, it's impossible. It's an impossible endeavor. So anyhow, these are the defects. This has to be wiped out. This has to be reset. It's impossible to pay off the debt. It never can happen. Only if some economy talks about it, the only way to do it is if you liquefy all of the money and turn it back into physical wealth again. Gold, silver, jewels. That's the only way. But it's impossible to actually repay all the interest, because there's only so much that is there. So anyhow, this is one of the flaws. Let's read one more verse. Nadhayo vyadhaya klesha Daiva bhutatma hetavaha Ajata shatrava bhavan Jantunam ragi karhichit Na, never. Adhaya, anxieties. Vyadaya, diseases. Klesha, trouble due to excessive heat and cold. Daiva bhutatma, all due to the body, supernatural power, and other living beings. Hetava, due to the cause of. Ajata shatro, unto one who has no enemy. That's the name for Yudhishthira. Abhavan, happened. Jantunam, of the living beings. Ragi, unto the king. Karhichit, at any time. Okay. Because of the kings having no enemy, the living beings were not at any time disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold. So all of the kleshagnis, or the suffering, the fire of sufferings that are coming, when there's a proper ruler handling everything, these are reduced and even diminished altogether when everything's happening perfectly. And then Yudhishthira is a perfect ruler. There's no greater devotee of this world in the realm of ruling than Yudhishthira. So to be non-violent to human beings and to be a killer or enemy of the poor animals is Satan's philosophy, Prabhupada is saying. In this age, there is enmity toward poor animals, and therefore the poor creatures are always anxious. The reaction of the poor animals is being forced on human society, and therefore there is always the strain of cold or hot war between men, individually, collectively, or nationally. At the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira, there were no different nations, although there were different subordinate states. The whole world was united, and the supreme head, being a trained king like Yudhishthira, kept all the inhabitants free from anxiety, diseases, and excessive heat and cold. They were not only economically well-to-do, but also physically fit and undisturbed by supernatural power, by enmity from other living beings, and by disturbance of bodily and mental agonies. There is a proverb in Bengali that a bad king spoils the kingdom, and a bad housewife spoils the family. No, I'm just saying. This truth is applicable. This truth is applicable. I'm sure a bad house husband would do the same. This truth is applicable here also, because the king was pious and obedient to the Lord and sages, because he was no one's enemy and because he was a recognized agent of the Lord and therefore protected by him. All the citizens under the king's protection were, so to speak, directly protected by the Lord and his authorized agents. Unless one is pious and recognized by the Lord, he cannot make others happy who are under his care. There is full cooperation between man and God and man and nature. In this conscious cooperation between man and God and man and nature, as exemplified by King Yudhishthira, can bring about happiness, peace, and prosperity in the world. The attitude of exploiting one another, the custom of the day, will only bring misery. And this is what's experienced in society. And actually, this is why we're experiencing misery as well. We have the tendency towards exploitation. We have the tendency of trying to just take everything from this world and use it in our advantage or seeming advantage. But there's a cooperation. What is the secret to success? We just talked about it. You both want to be successful, is it not? If you can successfully stay awake.
I'm listening to it.
Yeah, I know. But I know it's a struggle.
Everyone wants to be successful.
Yes, everyone wants to be. What's the secret to success?
Regulative principles and chanting.
That's one thing. Yes, but what will that get you?
Like it's said in the verse that
Something was said.
it's like surrender to the kingdom of the Lord and
Refuge. Take refuge under
him. So
Yes. So what is success when you receive the favor of the Lord?
there's nothing that's impossible.
Yes. So Yudhishthira, he's received the favor of the Lord. He was completely surrendered unto the Lord, ready to give up everything. He exemplified even the whole. Remember, he got cheated and he was ready to gamble away everything for the cause of Dharma, which is ultimately the Lord's system. Because he received the favor of the Lord and he was ready to give up everything to the Lord could put him in charge of everything. So this is why the only reason we lack things in our life is we haven't received the favor of the Lord yet. It has nothing to do with, I didn't work hard enough, I didn't do this way, or I didn't put out enough applications. Yes, maybe that's a symptom of something else. That, maybe if you're really dutiful to the Lord, you won't waste a second, and everything that you do will be productive, including doing your spiritual duties and your material duties. But at the same time, if you don't receive the favor of the Lord, nothing can happen. I'll give you an example. Ben, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me telling. He went out to Arizona. And for whatever reason, the Lord gave him a hard time trying to do anything out there. And he said it was crazy. I would put in this application, I would do this, I would do this. And I thought I would finally land the job. He had one circumstance where he got 2 jobs at once. But he had to try and balance them. So he was trying to tell the one job that, I have this other job, can we arrange it like this? And somehow or other, the way it all worked out was the one job agreed to something, but then later went back on the thing and basically somehow or other, by him trying to do that, he lost both jobs all at once. He had 2 jobs and then lost both all at once. But ultimately, he didn't have the sanction of the Lord to do those things at that point. He came back here and started getting back into his spiritual life in a big way. And then the Lord immediately, like what took him months to do in Arizona, it took him like a day or two. But it was had to kind of shift something in his life.
It's also like a higher calling job.
Yeah, and to something much better. And even now, again, that same job, he just is getting rid of that job, and he's getting called to do something even better than this. So we have to understand who's sanctioning all these things and where success and where it's really coming from. It's not due to your work. It's not due to, if I just did it like this, or I just do it like this. Yes, maybe so, but then the Lord, he could sabotage anything. He will sabotage anything if it's not good for you, if you don't really get the point.
He could also fix anything.
Yes, and he'll also fix anything and cover anything that you're lacking. Trust me, he knows what you're lacking. But if you're sincerely going unto the Lord, you'll never fail. This is a promise. He'll never let you fail. He will cover what you lack. This is his promise in Bhagavad Gita. So take the time. Do your spiritual duties. Get up when you're supposed to get up. Do the things you're supposed to do. There's a spiritual program here. There's a calling. This is how you get favor to the Lord. It's not, yes, it's helpful to what we're trying to do here, which is also some of the things.
I was just thinking when my mom was not yelling, but like chastising Michael a little bit when you left. One of the things she said to him was like, have you been to the temples? Have you met devotees? She was like, they all have good jobs. They all have nice cars. They all have money. Because he, was giving up his job, and she didn't like that very much because she thinks he's like, she sees Ramanai and she's like, what's wrong with you people? And so she's like seeing actually the devotees' lives are like very blessed, she's just a total like outsider. She's just been to the temple, like a few times, but she's seeing like, all the devotees like, yeah, they're quite blessed, like they're, in terms especially like materially she's seeing, because that's what platform she's on, but like that was her kind of thing with Michael. It was like, you don't have to be poor, you don't have to be like this, like look at them, they all have money, they all have this, they all have families, so like, devotees are especially blessed, I think.
Yeah.
Because they do have the favor of the Lord, and even in the beginning maybe it's difficult, but
It's like having material stuff is not bad, but getting attached to it and thinking that is the whole point will, I think, cause harm.
Yeah.
Like in your
well, that's why Krishna withholds it.
Yeah.
And that's why when he gives it, because
He gives it very, very cautiously. Because only when you learn the significant lessons on how to handle it can you have it. Exactly.
Like she's also not realizing that all those devotees that she's meeting and she's seeing, they're giving hundreds of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars to the temple to build this and to do that, and they're very charitable, and it's because that's like their conviction. They're getting it from the Lord. Whereas in the material world, that's not happening. They're giving hundreds and thousands of dollars to their families, to their vacation, to this, to that, and it's a very different life, right? So.
This is very true. Even myself, I've seen in my life that Krishna wanted me to use money for certain purposes, and I had a different idea on how to use the money. And if I go with my idea and I don't go what I know is scripturally right and right in the circumstance, then Krishna he'll come around the back and I don't see it, and then, oh my God, he took, like this. So we have to use all of these things for Krishna's service. That's all anything is really useful for. That it's Krishna's already. Even this body is Krishna's. Everything you have is Krishna's. Give it to him, use it in his service. If not, we're a thief and we'll be punished. And anything we think we're going to gain will be taken. That's just how it is. So, but we have to have like some higher perspective. If we don't have the sober perspective, then we'll get intoxicated and we'll get lost in it. And next thing you know, you go down a path you don't want to go down, and then you get a result you don't want to get in life. So it's not about, if only I worked harder, if only I did this more. No, if you were more sincere in getting more favor from the Lord, all the opportunities would be there that you need.
And also it's his timing,
That's right.
It's not like we can force something.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's exactly
it
what
takes
we say.
you time to mature.
Yes.
It takes you time to actually mature in your surrender to the Lord. So it might take however so much time for you to finally release a few things that you need to release in your consciousness to the Lord. And at that time, like I told you, right, with I quit my one job. Right? It was a level of surrender. I thought I needed a salary. I thought I needed stability. I thought I needed this for my family. Even these are dharmic. These are good things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the job at hand, I couldn't chant at the job. I was getting chastised by the devotees there for chanting at the job. And I realized, and that was a factory. It was hell. I don't care, devotee factory or not. Factories are hell. But anyway, I realized, no, I will not accept this type of life, and I have to be able to give of my life to the Lord. And then boom, that day he's like, oh great, here's the salary for the whole year. You can actually, you know what to do with it properly. But it took that level of maturity. It took years to reach that platform of maturity, and then I was faced with it. All right, do I choose the stability, the material thing, or do I choose the Lord? Even though it's going to make me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, we had to struggle like anything.
Yeah.
We were living with our parents for like 6 months between them after that.
It was brutal. But then that actually impelled us to finally take Keshava Gopal's offer to come up to Syracuse.
He forced that.
Yeah. I never wanted to. It's cold, disgusting weather, no thank you, nothing attractive about Syracuse. But he forced us into such a hellish type of situation, flying between our parents while they're still trying to live their lives and eating meats, and animals are everywhere, and it's just like this, that, and the other thing. I was just like, all right, Syracuse sounds great. So that's what it is. Unless you do it willingly, surrender to the Lord, he's just going to throw you through the ringer and this, that, and he'll force you into it. And eventually you'll say, all right, I get it. But, we can mature. Piyush, especially, you're in a phase, this Rahu phase of life. This is a super lessons phase. I just came out of it. I know it. And it's just, you gotta, it'll be a difficult phase. But at the end of it, all of the lessons there are for your maturation. That's why they're there. And then that's why following the Rahu phase comes the Jupiter phase, where the phase of wisdom and living by wisdom will come forth. But it's difficult, and you're gonna have to learn the lessons. And a lot of the time, Rahu, it can hear good advice, but at the end of the day, there's like an inner thing that's gonna impel you to do things that aren't necessarily. I wonder what phase you're in, Tanmay, too.
I'm checking.
But all of these planets become favorable, even just by touching the tulsi and watering and serving. By serving the Lord, everything becomes favorable. Rahu is also the one who can move so many mountains in your life. Even so many mountains were moved in my life that I would never have the drive to move now in my life. So Rahu will move those mountains as well. But at the same time, the theme of Rahu is the ends justify the means. That's the thought of Rahu. That as long as I get the result I want, how I get it doesn't matter. But the lesson that needs to learn is the means are extremely important. The means, how you do it, how you go about it, is extremely important. And that will be more practiced in the Jupiter phase. But the Rahu phase, you have to learn why the means are so important. And I've learned that coming out of it. I've made so many choices in my life where I thought the ends would justify the means, and it doesn't work that way. It's how you do it. But anyhow, you guys are going to continue figuring out your life. Please know this is the secret to your success. It has nothing to do with anything physical that you're doing. It's a complete internal process how surrendered you are. And then when you are really surrendered to the Lord, everything you do, you will do all your duties. Like, Ramapad Swami was noticing when he became more surrendered to the Lord, he was able to do all his duties so much more efficiently and effectively. But that comes with the favor and blessings of the Lord and really giving your time, your energy, and your conviction, your heart to the Lord. It's not a mechanical process. No, all right, I did the arati, I showed up, I sat through Bhagavatam class. It could be, like for instance, if you're chanting japa, I don't know if you ever got lost chanting japa on your phone. It may have happened before. It's happened to me plenty of times in my life. But if you're chanting japa sincerely compared to chanting japa on the phone, it's a completely different experience. Is it not? If you're in Bhagavatam nodding out and then actually like engaged, it's a different experience, is it not? Even when we sing the meanings in the morning, if you actually know what you're singing and singing with devotion rather than just like going through the motions, kind of just like a puppet dancing or kind of a parrot reciting, it's different, is it not? So that you have to evaluate all of your spiritual practices in your life. How sincere am I giving time to my japa? How sincere am I giving time to my reading? How sincere, even when we're in the aratis and singing the songs, am I actually focusing on the point of the song? Am I actually engaging in the meditation? Or if I'm just like, all right, I'll just nod back and forth until this is over and I can go do what I want to do. Is it not? These things may come up in the mind. So anyhow, we have to understand the point. What our body, what our life, what everything is for. It's the Lord's. Give it back to the Lord. It'll get the best result this way. Only the wise know that. Those who get too intoxicated by the world, they can't. They get too intoxicated and boom. They see the shiny thing and they say, I must have it. They don't care how they will get it, but I must have it. And then they get many setbacks in their life that take them even further away from the thing. So just, go by the proper means. And you will be very successful, I promise. And not just me, Krishna's promising. So anyway, very nice. I don't know how we got off in that, but thought it would